Hello, this is gothic androgyn, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about taming the shadow, working with the fairy realm. And one of the things I wanted to do is, I know when I was growing up, I loved fairies and druids, and also pixies, and I wrote some fantasy books, a fantasy trilogy, The Seer of Grace and Fire, and it includes two half-fairies, Timorn and Ethesian, and Ethesian is a dream seer, and Timorn is a ranger who grew up not knowing who he was in the human realm when he was actually a fairy. And that was hidden from him. And he had to learn who he was and understand that everything that he had grown up with, everything that he had learned was a lie. And in order for him to be his true self, he had to learn who he was. And one of the things that he had to do so that he could help save the fairy kingdom of Canaan from the Valkyries, who was a rising darkness, and he needed to work with Shadow and go inside and unlearn all the things that he had learned. And so today I want to share on my self-esteem journey, which we've been working on in May, is how to actually do some of that shadow work and work with the fairies to support you. And I know that recently I have been remembering stuff from my childhood and some of the Scottish history that I used to hear from my grandfather. But before we get started, I want to do a prayer to Brigid, who is one of the Celtic goddesses, as we start this. So, to Brigid, poetess of the deeper sphere, sit beside me, visit here. Inspire my mind to mystic heights, illume me in the knowledge of night, and grant me ease in learning, passion always burning. Ignite my creative mind, that I may come closer and climb to existential bliss. Maiden with the fire's power, speak to me that I might flower and also understand, and be a scholar in my own right. O maiden, goddess of the night, I honor you right here. Blessed be. So I know that when I was growing up, there was a show with Heath Ledger that I really enjoyed. It was called The Roar, and it was about, I guess, a lost Celtic tribe, who were fighting a Roman invasion. It was a time of, I think, King Arthur, and there was a Roman overlord, a woman who had, a magician in her court whose name was Longinus. And supposedly Longinus was the Roman soldier with the spear who pierced the side of Jesus while he was being crucified on the cross. And supposedly Jesus' blood fell on him, and Longinus, I guess, became immortal, living forever. And so he was hiding in this Roman noble's court as she tried to get control of the Celtic lands, and the Celtic tribes were fighting against her. And so it was always interesting. Supposedly that show, I don't know, it kind of like reminded me of something that I guess I didn't really understand, kind of something deep within that I knew. And there was the father who, the Heath Ledger character had to bring the father to the druid stronghold, and I guess the kid, who was the reincarnation of the head of the druids, had to travel there safely. And that was one of the episodes. And so that kind of reminded me of the fairies. And so I know that I'm doing my own shadow work. And so I want to kind of give 3 tips of doing shadow work. And one of those things is being able to see things that are unseen. And in order to do that, we need to, like, close our human eyes and look within and use kind of that third eye or intuition to see the things that are unseen. And sometimes these things come in dreams, and sometimes they don't. But as you see, this card is the fairies working in the shadow and being able to see some of those things that are unseen. And this is a deck that I had got in college, and it was kind of hidden in a box. And Leaves of the Shadows is healing bondage and improving self-esteem. And she is a very tough fairy, and it's a tough job to do, but the only way to do it is through love. Leaves looks for people who are in need of help, and is the patron fairy of therapists, healers, social workers, and helps to bring souls caught up in darkness, and help them overcome their inner shadows or those that have suffered abuse, and helps to protect them. She helps lending a hand in healing and soothes those who are anguished and whispers comfort and encouragement in a lonely ear, bringing a touch of hope, rainbows, and light into the deepest shadows, including the dark parts of the human heart. She is a fairy who helps people who are hopeless and helps us to understand ourselves and the lost child within. And it is her curiosity when she comes with a cheeky grin to help us see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that we can call upon her to assist in helping us and others, and encouraging us to be receptive to that help, and that she is there to support us. A lot of times we end up, especially when we're in kind of the dark night of the soul, or in a place that is, anxious or depressed, that we see no end to the darkness, or that there is no hope. And sometimes it just takes patience. And sometimes it takes forgiveness of others who may have hurt us, and forgiving ourselves. And working with the Fae, and I know this definitely brings kind of some of my heritage growing up, and that's something I'm definitely connected to, is that, I think a lot of us have seen the elves in the Lord of the Rings movie, fairies and pixies, and I know that I am working on the 3rd book of the Seer of Grace and Fire, and there are definitely pixies and fairies in that book that's coming out soon. And that is to honor, some of the deep magic and power of the fairy realm, which is right behind us when we close our eyes. Fairies are real, and they're really there, and they can help us, especially when we're in nature. And sometimes, if you go on a hike and you walk in the forest, you can hear the trees, for they are alive, as are the rocks. And the fairies that hide behind the mushrooms and the toadstools, within the willow trees, they're there to help guide us. And all we need to do is just ask. So remember to ground yourself in nature, and that's definitely something that I need to do a little bit more of, because the fairies are there to help us and bring us hope, especially in times of struggle, and to remind us that just be patient, there's always a rainbow, and that the universe is always there to guide us, as long as we are open, receptive to listen. Thank you.